everybody. I alluded to this yesterday, but I'm not gonna say what day it is anymore in the beginning because I wasn't gonna hit Easter. I didn't realize that until last night when I started looking at the calendar. But I do know that I have I do have enough material until Easter. I know that, and I know that after today there's 18 more. So I'll just count down from that one. So after today, like I said, I'll just say at the end of the video then. But anyway, I'm gonna pick up where I left off yesterday and finish talking about after my dad passed. So after he passed, my mom was planning the arrangements for the funeral service, and so I started to think about what I was gonna do in regards to Chrissy, because on one hand I wasn't gonna not ask her to come. I'm not crazy. I wanted her to go. But on the other hand, I didn't, I was worried, I guess I was worried that introducing Chrissy at this time to my mom and the rest of my family was gonna take away from something that should have been focused, a time where most of our focus should have been, on my dad's life and, us and all that, and our family. So, I was like, I was struggling with trying to figure out what to do, how to handle that. But, I was just like, I think eventually I was just like, you know what, and I told this to Chrissy, and I guess I was a little surprised that she was just like so okay with it, but I figured she was probably just gonna say okay to whatever I asked because I was still in grief. But so what I figured was like, I told Chrissy, I was like, okay, when you come, I need to just introduce you as one of my friends, because I don't want to take anything away from my dad. I think she understood, though. I mean, I know it does sound like I slighted her a bit, in that regard. And at the time, I didn't think about it much. And I guess, even thinking about it right now, even though it sounds a little bad, I mean, it was probably the best option given the circumstances. But so, I was just like, okay, I mean, that's the best thing I can think of, to be able, to bring you, but not take away from anything. And she agreed, and she just asked, like, do you want me to bring my parents, or my sisters? And I'm like, you can decide on that, because I didn't really care. I mean, in the sense that I didn't mind either way if they came or not. I'm sure that, if I were in her shoes and she were bringing me to her dad's funeral, I mean, I would I'd probably just go on myself. I don't know if I'd have brought my parents or my brother, but I didn't really care either way. I was like, as long as you show up, you can bring whoever you want to bring. But so, the night of the wake comes, and I'm hanging around with my friends and my family. Everyone's giving me their condolences, and I'm doing my best to keep it together, and I'm pretty much keeping it together for the most part. I think the wake I was doing pretty well. We had the mass, and then after the mass, when everyone was starting to talk, give their stories on my dad, I decided that while I knew that everyone's eulogies were going to probably be pretty lighthearted, as it usually is, I was just a little worried that I wasn't going to be able to deal with it. Because, I'm a pretty emotional person, so I decided that I would just, stand outside of where we were holding the wake. Because, I was just like, on that hand, I can, stay okay, and I can also wait for Chrissy to come. And so, I stayed outside, and I was with a few of my friends from when I was a kid, who really helped me stay together that night, and I really thanked them for that. But, the night passed, and she didn't come, and I was like, I was a little disappointed. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, you know what? She probably had something to do. I mean, her family was in town, so maybe they wanted to do something. It's it was what it was. I didn't care as long as she came the next day, to the funeral itself. But I did call. I think I drove that day. I don't remember why, but so when I was driving home, I called her up and I was like, I asked her, where she was, and she apologized. She was like, I had to, my family wanted to visit. I don't remember where they went that day, but they were going around town. They were still visiting. So I was like, it's fine, whatever. But I was like, you're gonna come tomorrow, right? She's like, yeah, of course. And I still believed her. I mean, in my mind, we still weren't at the best point of our relationship, but I mean, there was nothing for me to say that, oh yeah, she wasn't gonna be. I mean, even though I felt that there was a little bit of distance between the two of us, I mean, she was there. She was there for me the day that my dad died. She was my rock. She helped me get through that day, and I had nothing to believe otherwise. So, the day the funeral comes, we're at church, and a couple of my other friends that didn't make the wake, come and, we talk, and I tell them about the situation, because, I'm like, yeah, my girlfriend's supposed to be coming, but I'm not, I'm just introducing her as just a friend, because I didn't want to, I really didn't want to mess with anything. And they're like, yeah, that makes sense. And so, so we go through the service, we go through the first half, we finish the Mass, and she doesn't come, and I'm like, I honestly, I'm not really thinking too much about it, because, I'm really focusing on my dad that day, and I'm not gonna lie, I was already crying at the end of Mass when we were, being escorted to the gravesite. And after that passed, after we buried my dad, and we make our way to I guess what is it, the reception, where we went to go eat afterwards. That's when it started to bother me a little bit more that she didn't come. I was like, I'm pretty, I kept, I thought she would keep her word, but I was like, trying to keep a straight face. I was with, my friends, my family, and I didn't want them to think that anything else was wrong. I mean, I knew that they saw me, I think that they would probably, chalk it up to just, my dad, being buried, but, I was trying to keep a straight face. I was just trying to make it seem that everything was fine. And it was, for the most part. I kept it together for the rest of the day. But, to be honest, by the time I got home, by the time everything was done, the service was done, and my dad was buried, it really got to me. I broke down at the end of the day, and I was laying there in bed. And there wasn't anything I really wanted to say. There wasn't anything I could text to Chrissy, because it really hurt. What was I supposed to say? I mean, there wasn't any words that were enough. I should say, how mad I was at the time. Throughout these vlogs, I have tried to paint Chrissy in a pretty positive light. And even the stuff that aren't that great, her excessive drinking, I tried to spin it at least in a neutral light. But, the fact that she didn't come to my dad's funeral, there's nothing that can be said about that. There's nothing, I'm really at a loss of words to even say it now. I mean, I am trying my hardest to not say anything that bad, and that's the best I can do. But, how I said that, when she was gone, and when I was thinking about, when I was thinking about our future and how I was a little worried about what would happen after she didn't come to the funeral, in my mind, it was over already. It wasn't even a wonder if we could make it anymore. It was just, I knew that we were done. And I mean, it sucked. I didn't really want to hear what her excuse was going to be yet, because I knew that there was really no excuse in my mind for her to do that, for her to stand me up on one of the biggest days of my life, that I really needed her. You can draw your own conclusions of what I've been trying to hold back, what I've tried not to say. Yeah, that's probably where I'm going to stop today. Like I said, after this vlog, there's 18 more now, so yeah, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, definitely give it a thumbs up, and until tomorrow, see ya.